Hi, I'm Catalina, founder of LoanSense. I'm here with Dr. Ahmed today. We
Hi.
worked with him last week and we helped him get amazing results. Essentially $117,000 back from FedLoans. And we're here with him today because those working in the healthcare field, medical professionals take on a lot of student loan debt to get your degrees. And we want to make sure to provide the best advice and insight for you all. So I want to just capture some of Dr. Ahmed's experience with his loans and what you all can do and some major takeaways to help you all in the future. So, do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are, what your experience with LoanSense is? I'll start there.
Sure. My name is Awad Ahmed. I'm a practicing radiation oncologist in a hospital setting. Um, when I finished training, our training in radiation oncology is about 5 years after medical school. And by the time I finished training, I had about $400,000 in student loans. And I had decided that I would accelerate my payments, accelerate my loan repayment so that I paid it off as soon as possible. However, about 6 months into that, the pandemic hit the US and the whole dynamics of everything really changed. And during residency, I was always enrolled in public student loan forgiveness. But when I decided to accelerate my repayments, I, um, I had unenrolled the ins and outs and know what to say. It's really uh, uh, keywords and things you have to say when you talk to the people on the other side. And I think you don't really know that because you don't really get any formal training on it. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that we have no experience with as physicians and as residents. I mean, some people.
Happened, I guess, besides getting a refund, what would you say the benefit to having someone help you manage the paperwork process and understanding how vital filing your paperwork annually is and what some of the repercussions are if you're going to change plans? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think the benefit is, one, you don't have to worry about anything. Um, you don't have to worry about missing deadlines, and this is especially important, I think, if you're a resident. And I realize that residents, I don't know, they're on a capped salary, but when you're done with residency, you really have a lot on your plate, and meeting those deadlines and filing all that paperwork. Sometimes, you might forget to do that, and when you forget to do that, the interest ends up being capitalized on top of the principal, and you don't want that to happen. Another thing is, a lot of my friends, soon after they finished training, I think because the whole thing was just so daunting, they figured that they would pay it off after they refinanced. So refinancing, oftentimes you'll get a good interest rate, a better interest rate than what you're getting with Fed loans or with the government. So it can seem appealing, but when you do that, you really sign away a lot of benefits that you might otherwise have. And I think some of that, for my friends, some of that was because they wanted to accelerate their repayments and they made that decision. But I also think a lot of it was because they were tired of having to refile paperwork, and then every if you call somebody on the other line, it takes a full day, and refinancing sometimes can be very appealing because you don't have to deal with all that. So I guess it's much easier to have somebody else worry about it, and I think it's the cost that you pay is a drop in the bucket, especially when you look at the savings.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is with LoanSense, we will analyze what the aggregate savings you would get by staying in the public service loan forgiveness program, right? We would also file your paperwork for you, liaising all the way to HR. So that's not something you have to take your work time or try to remember in your own schedule to do, right? So I think oftentimes working with medical professionals, we see that they're like, oh, 4% versus 6%, obviously 4% is better, but they're
Right.
not calculating the amount of overall savings they can get from filing, paperwork 5 more times and letting LoanSense do that on their behalf, right? So I guess would you say anything about, I'd like to share, understanding fully what your potential loan forgiveness amount would be, and making sure you really, really understand that, right? And that's kind of what we do to assist medical professionals, because we think that it's in your best interest to understand all the possibilities instead of just pigeonhole yourself towards something that might be irreversible, which is refinance. Not trying to say refinance is bad for everybody, but in a
Right.
lot of cases, it could be.
Right. And then I think the other thing is the political arena changes things. Um, Pandemics obviously change the dynamics of things. And I think having somebody that's at least keeping their ears open to see what might be coming around the corner is important. Because if you're not, I don't know anyone who doesn't have student loans who knows about the HEROES Act, the laws that were passed during the pandemic that changed the interest rates, that made zero payments count, $0 payments for 6 months count towards your student loan payments. I think having somebody else deal with that and keep track of those laws and advise you and tell you, well, this might be coming up. This might be advantageous to you. If it does come up, you might save this much. I think having that is, it'll help you save money, I think, and it's convenient.
So, do you mind telling us? Is it too personal to ask how much is your projected forgiveness, inclusive of getting this? You got the back the 117,000. You're going to get that back from the U.S. Treasury. Do you want to share how much projected loan forgiveness you're going to get? That's not calculated when people consider refinance.
Sure. Well, this is, as a caveat, I'd have to continue working in a nonprofit. But so long as I do that, I'd be projected to save 270,000.
Yeah, so that's a huge benefit, right? That essentially people don't consider when they just look at pure interest rates. So I guess what advice would you have for those entering residency or coming out on how to better manage their student loans? Like, I guess, is there any advice or any learnings that you had that would help others?
I think during residency, so long as you're on top of your paperwork, which for the most part I didn't have a problem there. Just do public student loan forgiveness. When you finish residency, I think meeting with someone from Loan Sense or from someone who's familiar with the student loan forgiveness or the student loan repayment process experience, and I saved, and I think a lot of people will save.
Yeah, great. Is there anything else you want to say? I think that was really helpful.
No, that's yeah. So as a caveat, a conflict of interest, ended up investing in the company. Obviously, I saved so much money, and I figured, let me just invest. So I am an investor in the company, but that was after, after I saved all that money. But it is important. Conflicts of interest are important, especially in medicine. So I think it's important for people to know that.
So we gladly took Dr. Ahmed's investment as a testament to the value we can provide to medical professionals all over, and to best help you as an individual, right? Those who are watching this, save money, and to advocate on your behalf and to help you basically get the best financial outcomes to set you and yourself up for financial success. So I just want to iterate that is our number one concern. We do not make money off of refinancing your student loans. We do not make money off of doing things that benefit us. We make money off of serving you. So that's